Hey, you guys, welcome back to another chapter of The Written Life with me, your host, Shia McGee. And today, the topic that we'll be discussing is art imitating life. Do writers really create stories based off their own real-life personal experiences? And we're going to delve into that right now. So, thank you for joining me today on this chapter that we're all going to be going through together. But just to start off, art imitating life has always been a very big deal in the world of fiction. So the truth is always mixed in with a bit of lies or storytelling or whatever, however you want to call it. That's what it is. Especially for someone who does write fiction, you're always going to base some of your fiction off of things you know or things that you've gone through or lived through, and most of the time that's just how it is. And there are some writers out there that will say, write from experience, write what you know. But me, I'm someone who works very well with my imagination. It tends to get away from me, but my imagination can sometimes be mixed in with reality. And I believe that goes for anyone that writes fiction. I really do. Like, if anybody that's listening, if you've ever watched, and I don't know why I use this as an example. It was like the first thing that popped into my mind. If anybody's ever watched the film The Best Man with Taye Diggs and Sanaa Lathan and all these wonderful, beautiful actors in the movie, and Nia Long too. It's one of my sister's favorite movies of all time. It's one of her favorite. But anyway, I'm letting myself get away from the subject. So in the movie, the main character is Harper, who is an author, and his book that he wrote essentially gets his ass beat because he wasn't ready to be honest about the book and how he came up with the characters, and basically used one of the characters. He used all of his characters like his friends as his characters. They were the inspiration for them. And I guess if you haven't seen the movie, he does something silly. He uses the characters to basically tell on himself about something that happens in the past. If you haven't watched it, you should. It's a great movie. But he paid the price for that, unfortunately, because he wasn't honest. But that's neither here nor there. It was just an example. Another example of kind of art imitating life, or just art imitating real life events, things that happen for real. So if you've read the book, which this book was really, really good. I read it when I was like 17, 18 years old. It's called The Lovely Bones. Now, that book really made me upset. Really upset. But it was really disturbing. And it obviously is a work of fiction, but it's something that is a cold reality that happens way too often in this world to children. Like the young character that was narrating the story, it's a very gut-wrenching book. If you haven't read The Lovely Bones, read it. I haven't watched the movie yet, unfortunately. I'm thinking about it, but after having read the book and still remembering what happened in the book, it's going to be hard for me, but I will get to it. But I just use that as another example. And it's just another way of writers using the world around them to tell a story that they create a whole nother world around. If that makes sense, I hope it makes sense. But I believe that's the great thing about writing. That's the great thing about being able to live in your own world inside of a world that already exists. You know? It's just something, a lot of people say that it's something that they couldn't do, like write. They couldn't imagine themselves having to write. It's hard. For me, it's not, but I can understand why someone would think that. But I essentially just use what's around me. And it hasn't failed me yet. Another great example, a most noteworthy example, is the story that is laced with fact. And it's another sad story that started as a book. Another movie that I actually saw on Netflix like a long time ago, before people really started watching Netflix that much, and before Netflix and chill became a thing. The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. What a tearjerker that was. It was very captivating. I'm not gonna lie, in the beginning when I was watching the film, I was like, this kid is going to get in trouble. Like, this is dangerous, what's happening. But it was written around, it was a work of fiction written around a real life event. It was a book turned film that really served its purpose, and it drove home the atrocity of what happened in the book and in the adaptation, the film adaptation. I don't know if anyone listening has already seen the movie that was on Netflix, or if you've only read the book or only seen the movie, then you would understand what The Boy in the Striped Pajamas is. It's a really sad tale, but like I said, it's just another example that I used for art imitating life. At least from my perspective, that is what I would call art imitating life, because it is a work of fiction that was inspired by real life, not every day, but real life things that happened. And it's something that we can admire writers for bringing people into their world, using things that they know from experience, and expounding on that by just using their imagination, using their creativity. I think that's one of the great things about writing, and what I love about writing. So yeah, it's just that is the topic that I wanted to discuss today. I just wanted to introduce it really quickly with some examples, and I will discuss myself and how I use it in just a moment. But we're going to get into our word of the week. Now, word of the week is something that I actually started using on Instagram as word of the day, and I would do it every day, and I really liked it, but it got away from me like most things. So I decided word of the week will be my thing to do on this podcast instead, just to liven it up a bit and mix things up. So word of the week is going to be chivy. And chivy is CHIVY. And the definition is to tease or annoy with persistent petty attacks, to move or obtain by small maneuvers. And I'm going to give you a lovely example right now. The young, relentless child chivied the last cookie from the near empty bag that was half full only moments ago. And that was your word of the week, chivvy. I hope you guys use it. And we're going to take a small break with a word from our sponsor. All right, welcome back. We were just discussing the topic of this chapter, art imitating life. Do writers really create stories based off of their own real life personal experiences? And in regards to me, yay! Uh, do I write based off of my own life experiences? It's a very good question. I actually try not to, just because I feel like, nothing really happens to me. Nothing crazy ever really happens to me. But to a certain extent, yes. But that's about it. And I say that, but I feel like a lot of writers do that, though. They don't write about their own experiences too much, if that makes any sense at all. But what I'm trying to say is I feel like writers do use their own personal experiences in their stories. They'll sprinkle it in, uh, but it won't be all about them. It won't be all about their life experiences. They won't put too much of their reality in the story. Like I do my Michaela Williams series, it's not based off of my entire life. Only bits and pieces of myself are thrown in there. Mostly it's other people I've encountered, um, along the way in my journey, in my life. But I thought I would create a character that I thought would be interesting and relatable to my audience, my readers. So that's how I work that. I literally just like to create stories that I feel it resonates with people and it entertains them. That's what I like to do. Like I mentioned before, I really believe in trying to entertain people and make people happy that way. That's kind of what I feel like I enjoy. It's not what I feel like I enjoy, it's what I know I enjoy. It's what I love doing. I just love creating, but I create with my mind because I don't know how to do it with my hands. My son is very good at creating with his hands. He has a very, very expansive imagination, and he's able to use that to create with his hands. He likes to make sculptures. He also loves to draw. He's my little artist. And for me, I do that using words. Um, for all of my other fictional works that I've done, they're not really based off of my own personal experiences either. Like I stated, for my major novels that I've written, my Michaela Williams series, I literally just don't use myself very much. I want it to be exciting. I feel like I'm not that exciting. I think I'm okay. That's pretty sad to say that, especially because I have this podcast. I would hope that I'm somewhat interesting enough to have people listen. So I shouldn't say that I'm not exciting or, anything like that. But I'm just saying I try to elaborate and be a little more outgoing when it comes to my stories. I like to create characters that aren't like me per se. I want them to be different, of course, because who wants to read about me? Wants to read about a mom who goes to work, goes home, and that's it. I have little spurts of excitement, but other than that, I'm really just a homebody. It's It's how I get writing done. I'd rather write. I'd rather read. That's something that I do. I do enjoy me a good cocktail, though. I'm not going to lie. I do enjoy going out to eat. I like a cocktail or, two. And that's about it. All right. So that actually is going to conclude this chapter of the written life, discussing art imitating life and using our reality to create a world of fiction. I really hope you guys enjoyed this chapter. I wanted to keep it a little bit brief. I didn't want to have it go over too long, you could say. I really do hope you enjoyed what you were hearing today. Please, please, please share this episode, share this podcast with anyone that's interested in supporting an independent author, someone who self publishes her work. You can find both of my novels. They're Michaela Williams series. They are urban fantasy. They're works of fiction. No, they do not imitate my life. You can find Voices on the Air and Whispers of the Flesh, both available on Amazon.com on your Kindle. You could download that bad boy, or you can order the paperback. That's what I would do because I really love physical books. But other than that, you can find me on Facebook at SL McGee. That's S as in Sam, LMCGEE author on Facebook. Also, I am on Instagram, SL_McGee_author. Twitter, LaSmalls86. I tried to get that one to be matching. It didn't work out too well, and I wasn't going to start all over. So you're just going to have to deal with that. And then you can also follow me on WordPress. And it is my blog. It's my official blog. I would like to say it's my official site, but it is my blog. It's slmcgee.wordpress.com for my latest blog posts and happenings with my writings and my novels. As I get closer to finishing up book 3, The Sorceress, and the Michaela Williams series, when we draw a little bit closer to the deadline, we'll talk about that as well and possibly do a chapter share. I'm 5 chapters in with that book. I'm very excited to share it, and I can't wait to make it available for you guys to read it. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you all in the next chapter of The Written Life, and have a good night.